Welcome back, everyone, to our second part of Tomb Raider Remastered. And we're just going to get right into it, right? As we dive in. We are picking up just every... It was a long playthrough. We'll talk about it.
Okay.
So, quick recap from last episode. Last episode, we did the Peru levels. We were Laura looking for an artifact, which we did not find. Instead, we found another lead that took us to Greece. This playthrough is going to.
Well, we did find a piece of the Skion.
Found that ski.
We did find a piece, but not the full artifact.
Yeah, Skion.
Ski.
So we're gonna go to Greece, where we are hot on the tail of Pierre Dupont, and we are looking for another piece. Of
When they said that,
Skion.
I just was like, I hope Alex changes all these names to Huan Huan.
Pierre. Oh, we are Mr. Southern Gentleman Pierre Dupont.
Yeah.
So yeah, these levels we did 5 levels. It was a long playthrough. With that being said, anybody playing along, I don't know a better way to do this because we're at a juxtaposition, right? Like, yeah, so you have to play it this way to do 4 easy chunks. Otherwise, we're gonna have 17 episodes of this podcast where nothing literally happens because this is a 1990s
It's
video
fine.
game where
Yeah,
nothing
it's
literally
not a big deal.
happens. So yeah, we're gonna kick things off with level 5, St. Francis's Folly. Just remember, we are in Greece, and at St. Francis's Folly, we're kind of in like a desert. Remember, we came up in a valley and we saw this like temple up on the top, and it's a very Greek.
I know the best part about it is that I had a moment where I felt like I was channeling you in with other video games, where it cuts to the scene of her on the motorcycle and she's like driving up to this temple, and I went, "That doesn't look like any place in Greece I've ever seen." Like, I literally that was my exact thought.
Not wrong.
Well, we will get to that.
Yeah.
So in this first part of the level, we have to work our way around a multi-level tower. I'm not going to go through every little puzzle that takes forever, right? But essentially you come to a big area at one point where you have multi-level tower. It goes all the way up from floor to ceiling, like 4 different levels. And essentially you have to pull switches that open doors. And each of these doors are named after a mythical figure. And in this puzzle room, each puzzle room ties to that mythical figure, right? So it's a pretty straightforward thing where you have to...
Each fucking room is like some circus freak style room to get through that really... One of them really pissed me off.
Electricity. One of them has electricity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty straightforward. Like, the puzzle and jumping, and you kill gorillas, and you kill lions, you kill some bats. You're occasionally fighting Mr. Pierre
Which are just
Dupont.
enemies now. By the way,
Yeah.
extremely sentient gorillas. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
they know what they're doing, and they are extremely hostile.
They actually also, because of the old graphics and the assets you had in the 90s that have really just been like given a coat of makeup, they look like the most horrid human-like gorillas. They are the link between the gorillas now and like the Neanderthals back in the day.
It does
Like,
actually
it
feel
is
like the missing link, doesn't it? It kind of does. Yeah, I agree.
So we'll get to the doors. We're gonna start top down here. So the first door is the Neptune door. In the Neptune room, you see a pool of water. There's a strong current. It kind of carries you away. Essentially, you dive in the water, you find the switch, you open it up, and then you swim to get a key. And like, I don't want to be like, for anybody out there that's like, oh, are you skipping like? That sounds easy. Yeah, it's that. It's you swim straight until you can go to the left.
do this
to
like
pull
4
a lever.
times. Yeah.
Then you go back straight and you get a key. Just because we have to make this a little bit fun, otherwise this playthrough talking about it would be like 10 minutes long. Mythology trivia, not really. We'll talk about the mythology here. So, Neptune, which pantheon is he part of? Who knows?
The Roman one.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right. Are you sure?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it is. Okay. So the Roman god is sea, right? He's the antithesis to Poseidon. He rules over the oceans. The little funsy part, the difference between Poseidon and Neptune, if you're ever wondering who am I looking at, Neptune is also shown standing on his legs with the trident. Or, sorry, Poseidon is... Did I say that right? Poseidon is shown standing on his legs with the trident. Neptune is also on a chariot with a seahorse. That's typically how you
leave it.
tell.
Can I say it's? I don't know if this is a hot take or not, because I know that there's tons of middle-aged or our-aged men on the internet that feel very strongly about the Roman Empire. Every single rendition of the Roman version of the Greek mythology is fucking way lamer, dude. It's so
always worse.
It's unbelievable. I have
in
never.
Fact, I'd say we'll actually get to that in a second as well, because another room is actually named from the Greek pantheon, and the Greeks are just way cooler.
Yes,
they're way fucking cooler. Also, fun fact: there's still a summer festival called Neptunalia, where when it gets really hot and they pray for water, they have a whole festival dedicated to Neptune, and still a thing that sometimes happens in different parts of Greece. There you go. Also, this isn't the only time Neptune shows up in a Tomb Raider game. They also have Neptune-related puzzles in Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation.
Not
there
surprising.
you go. So next up is
I'll never see.
Next up is the Atlas room, as we're working our way down. This one has a big-ass boulder that comes rolling down. Now, there's an interesting piece here.
Seems like Atlas lost his quest here.
So this is an interesting choice, because we all know the statue of Atlas and the saying Atlas shrugged, with like Atlas is on his knee and his arms are up. He's holding the world on his shoulders, but that's technically incorrect. All of that is incorrect. So Atlas is not holding up the world. So he's part of the Greek pantheon. Again, they're way cooler, because not only do they have gods, but they have titans who fought the gods, and Atlas is a titan.
And they also have demigods that are also way cooler.
They are way cooler, and it's a bigger pantheon as well. So anyway, the Greeks are just cooler. So Atlas lost his battle against Zeus and the Olympians, and his punishment for losing the war is he had to hold up the sky and bear the heavens on his shoulders. Correct. I assume the artist just didn't have a way to actually visualize holding up the heavens, so put the world. But what you all know is wrong. But the other thing I found interesting about this is it actually goes back to Hades, right? And back to like these pantheons where there is a character in mythology that spent all of his days rolling a boulder up a hill.
Yep.
Only for it to roll back down and roll it back up. So why
it should have just been named after him. I agree.
You have a character that's known for boulders, yet you
Here's the other thing.
did it wrong.
The Atlas punishment I always thought was strange, because this has nothing to do with Tomb Raider. When we were with the Atlas punishment is so strange to me, because I was always thinking, if I lost the war and then Zeus looked at me and said, "You have to hold up the heavens as punishment, like for the rest of your life," I go,
"Crush me."
No,
just let it crush me.
And they go, "But then if you don't, then the sky will fall down."
There's like, you need to find out a way to fix that.
He's like, "Well, but don't you want to live? Not if it means being punished for the rest of my life. Kill me."
Yeah.
Do it, nerd. Like, what do you?
And they did that to a lot of titans, like Kronos and others, where like they made these punishments like all the time. You're gonna be wandering like the desert sands and other stuff. It's just like, no thanks. What's the other option here?
Yes, I won't do that. Like, but then I'll kill you. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Congrats. Yeah. And honestly, you're probably going to have a hard time doing it. Like, it took all of you to beat us the first time. And, like, if you just decide to up and try and kill me, like, you're probably going to lose. So,
yeah.
The third room is the Thor room. Naturally, lightning, big hammer puzzle, key. I don't need to go into Thor.
No.
So, no. We do.
Okay.
Because
that's bullshit.
Is this the room
for lightning?
Yes.
There's no puzzle.
So here's the
nothing.
thing.
It's just
unless, and maybe I it does. There was, it did not seem like there was a way to.
So, just real quick, there's an achievement for making it in and out, not getting hit by the lightning.
Sure.
I watched multiple videos of people doing this. I tried.
Just
and
like
failed
timing?
every time. So
is there tech? Did they say?
There's timing.
There's a path. There's a path. There's a path you can take, but like the descriptions of stuff like I'm reading and I'm seeing is like you have to give one tile space between the line and your body, and then you turn left, and then you just make a jump to the far right hand side.
And there's nowhere, and there was somewhere in the game that I would get that information.
Nope.
Okay,
nope.
cool.
I tried it a couple times, and I always got. I can make it through getting hit one time, right? Because any more that you kind of die. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah,
I don't know how.
I would jump through. I'd get hit once. I would make it to the other end. I would take a health pack, and I go, okay, like I'm in here now.
This is a very interesting room too, because this game as a whole, because of its time period, is pretty straightforward. Like the most complicated thing they can do to trick a user is what they do later in this playthrough, where they have multiple switches and you kind of have to like hit them in right orders. So it's like a test and try sort of thing, right? But this room, you get past the lightning and there's a valley, and then there's a big ass hammer that falls, and then you have two pushable bricks. One, like you think you could push either of them into that valley for some reason, but they can't. They stop. You think you could use any of the bricks to jump up on the hammer, or jumping up on the hammer would do something. You can't. It automatically falls. Like, it's just a really poor room design with very confusing imagery that kind of went against the rest of the game, to where you're like, oh, maybe I should go over here and try this, or maybe there's something. Nothing. It was just an open room with a hammer and one ledge on the right-hand side. It was weird.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but yes, there was an achievement for three of the rooms, maybe all four. But
I think the sword one.
Did you get the? Oh, you got this really well. So there's two or three in that one. So there, I got the one for the boulders, the Atlas room. So apparently, if you jump up without getting hit by a boulder, a random achievement popped. I didn't get injured by the boulder or whatever, and I got okay.
One then,
I think
the
I
Thor
got that one. I can't remember.
It was the easiest one. The Thor one was not getting hit by the lightning, and then next up is the Damocles room. And here, there are a bunch of swords hanging from the ceiling. Does anybody know the mythology around Damocles? I did not. I looked it up.
Nope.
No, I just know that there was a thing called the Sword of Damocles.
Yes, so we had the Greek pantheon, the Roman pantheon, where we had a god and a titan. We had a Norse pantheon where you also had a god. So we're playing loosey-goosey with this mythology here. And then the last room, so Damocles, not a god, and it's Turkish, and it's not even really mythology. It's just a parable. So apparently Damocles was an advisor to King Dionysus II, who was a real person, and he was a tyrant ruler of Syracuse in like ancient Sicily. And essentially, the story is like Damocles kept praising the king. Is like, oh wow, you're so amazing, you're so powerful, everybody must love you, you have all the riches in the world. And the king was like, well, if you think it's so fucking great, like, why don't you be king for a day? And he's like, dope, like, let me be king.
Sick, so, sounds good.
Sits on the throne, and then as he's hearing like these complaints, as he's dealing with the stuff going on in the nation, he looks up and he sees a sword, and the sword is hanging from a single horsehair. So it's like it's point down, like suspended above his head from a single horsehair. And he got so scared by that, he jumped off the throne. He was like, I don't want it. And essentially the sword was there to remind the king and symbolize that there's a constant danger and burden of leadership. It's just a parable. It's not a pantheon of mythology. Okay.
We're just mixing
so I learned shit. To be fair, it did lead me to learning something. So like I guess there's that. So all in all, they were pretty loosey-goosey with the mythology of the puzzle, or the puzzle mythologies. Once we have all the keys, we go to the bottom of the tower. We shoot, if you haven't done this already, if you haven't shot Pierre Dupont from a safe zone, you shoot him until halfway.
This
he runs
guy for the rest of his playthrough.
Yeah, you can't kill him.
Yeah, don't chase him. Because he is invincible.
Oh, he'll still shoot you.
Half health, and he'll continue to shoot you if you don't let him go behind something to disappear.
There was a part in this playthrough later on, and I forget where it was, so I'll just say it now, where his health bar goes away, so at that point he's invincible, and he will try and escape. However, I was on the critical path, and the critical path put me in front of where he was trying to escape. Mm-hmm. So we're running for like 45 seconds, and he's just shooting me. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing I can do. I'm just like, bro, please stop. So we get to the bottom, we take all the keys and unlock the doors, and we're done. Level 6 and level 7, we're going to tackle together the Colosseum and the Palace of Midas. In the first part, you really have to get to the Colosseum proper, where you have to find some switches to open different corners of the room. In each corner, you eventually get a key and unlocks the exit, and your goal is to get to the Emperor's box. The big part of the Colosseum takes place in like this open arena out front, where you also fight more very sentient gorillas. You fight more lions. Just something fun to know, because we're in the process of learning things today. The Greeks did not have colosseums. This was a Roman thing. As a game dev, if you're creating this story, all you had to do was change the name from Rome to Greece in the dialogue, right? Like when you're like, where's Pierre Dupont? You just say, oh, he's in Italy. And now this works. But unfortunately, you put it in Greece, and the Greeks aren't known for colosseums. They did have public venues, but there is no proof they were used for fighting, because the Greeks were known for theater, right? So they had a lot of shows and stuff. Fun fact, I've been to the oldest theater in the world. It was in Greece on the island of Crete in the kingdom of Minoa, right? So the Minoans, I have photos of that. It's very cool. You can still see it. It's great. Anyway, moving on. They also had arenas for competitions like the Olympic Games, but again, no fighting. And then they had gymnasiums, right? They invented the gym for wrestling. But the Greeks, even though they came earlier than the Romans, were far more intellectual. So they were not just like into the blood sport. So it makes this kind of arena and Colosseum thing a little weird in this game. Also, there is no historical proof for the Roman aspect of it, or the Greeks, that they even knew what gorillas were. Historians doubt that the Romans knew they even existed. They make no sense for this playthrough. There were lions, there were tigers, there were big cats, there were elephants, there were all these things. Gorillas were not a thing.
And crocodiles?
Crocodiles, absolutely. Yep, yeah, crocodiles they had. Yep. And crocodiles were used in the Colosseum as well, actually, of Rome.
To be fair, this is also a video game that's got dinosaurs in it.
There are dinosaurs in this game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To be fair. I'm just saying.
I agree. I think my problem with the gorillas...
We're learning.
Yeah.
It's all we're
My
doing.
problem with the gorillas is not... it's not so much that they're, they're period incorrect. It's more so that those gorillas in this game are on the verge of Planet of the Apes level organizing, that I think Laura should be more worried about than she is.
Yeah. Yes. This is really the extent of this playthrough. The highlight is the central arena. That's all I had to talk about as we're learning. We're going to move on to level 7. You see, beautiful listeners out there, sometimes when Alex picks old games, it makes us very challenging. A little happens. It's okay, though. Let me ask, because in these two playthroughs, this is kind of what I alluded to, there's only so much you can do to make this complicated. And one of the things this playthrough did is they brought about this concept of 5 switches, right? You have 4 doors around the area, and you have to pull the switches in a correct order to get specific doors to open.
The doors
to
show you which ones to pull.
Yeah. By this point, are you guys playing around figuring this out, or are you just following a guide?
At this point,
I'm playing around and figuring it out.
Okay. I usually play around and figure out until I get to something like this, where it's like, all right, just tell me where to go, and I'm about 3 or 4 hours in, so I'm like, you know what, let's just go ahead and get this done with. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm doing both, right? Like, I play around and figured out that I pulled the guide to see if there's anything I could go back and collect that I was gonna miss. I'm not worried about the achievements.
If it takes me a little long, I'm like, you know what, let's just go with the guide.
I'm probably...
So Christian...
stubborn to a fault, but no, I'm slamming my head into this until, I mean, there's the only instance in which I looked something up is that I was like, if I feel like mechanically I've missed something, like I don't understand like a move that the game wants me to do, and then I'll say like, I'll look something like that up, but otherwise, no. Like, if it's a puzzle that I don't think that I've understood, I will sit there and try and figure it out until I do.
There are 3 places in this playthrough where mechanically the game wants you to do something that you physically cannot do on modern controls.
So,
and they all three... I say all 3 have to do with hidden areas and hidden doors in this playthrough, so you're not missing anything big. But there are 3 places where the game wants you to do mechanical things.
In that one first area we get to, where it has the 4 pillars, there is that one room on the right side that has all those edged sections. That's a hidden room. What you gotta do is you gotta be able to bounce, 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 and you get up to that section. I even tried to turn it to the classic controls because I just wasn't getting it. I got what I needed to do, but for some reason with the modern controls, like I couldn't like position myself properly or whatever to get aiming at the right spot to grab the edge.
So that's actually not one of those things. I did that on the first try.
I did get this. I did get that on the modern controls. I did.
So that's not one of those things. It's there's 2 I can think of right now. So in the previous playthrough with the tall tower, across from Thor, you can jump on a pressure plate that opens a door on the bottom, and it's open for 17 seconds and shuts. And the only way to get down there is you essentially have to do those like forward jump and then sideways jumps and stuff without moving. And some of those sideways jumps you can't actually do, based on not having tank control. So I could never do it in a timing thing. And then there's another one when you're sliding down the mouth of Neptune, like into the water. There's a hidden area on the top left, and same thing, there's the breakable floor pillars, and if you're not doing those single forward, side, back, like stuff like that, you can't do it.
Yeah.
So.
There was for me there was the Preston, the area you're talking about where you have to climb up those pillars. I did not know that if you on the modern controls is if you do the jump and then tap the forward stick, that actually does give you one of those special jumps that will send her like a certain way.
I think I said that last week, so I'm a little offended.
No, you did, but you were talking about
this backstep.
You described the
backstep jump
controls.
you can't do,
right.
But the press A and then jump you can. Yeah.
You remembered, or I remembered you describing the backstep jump with tank controls, and so I was like, oh, okay, I just can't do that one, so I just ignored it. So, but when I did that one, I was like, oh, this is what it wants me. Okay, cool. So then I started doing that, and then
that one's a game changer, actually.
Dude,
like for
before
a lot
that,
of
I had
things.
moved that block in front place, and I tried 18 fucking different ways of jumping and having her stupid hands out to grab that ledge, and it just wasn't working. And I was like, I'm now, and for reference here, I was having a very conflicted moment because I had tried that maybe 10 times and it wasn't working. And then I had a work thing pop up, so I had to pause, and then the very nice gift that you got for me showed up. And I went and paused the game completely.
You said I may never play this game again.
No, so right before all of that happened, I was like, I hate this fucking video game. Like, I was like so mad. So I was like, it's not working. I was like, it's clearly something mechanical that I'm missing. But and I went back. I saved the game, left, and went into the tutorial. But the tutorial only assumes that you're doing on tank controls. It does not have a tutorial for modern controls.
That's why I couldn't.
And so I was like, that's bullshit. That is a thing you should fix when you're remaking a fucking video game. I was like so irritated. I get back in. I keep trying. It wasn't working. I was very frustrated. And I was like, I feel like I'm at the point where Preston must have been with
Warrior Finn,
the Prince of Persia game. Like, Warrior Finn. Like, I was like, this must be how frustrated he was. And then so I paused, and I had the work thing popped up. I left, went, got those cards, opened those up. I was in a much better mood, and so when I came back, I was so conflicted because I was like, I'm I just had a lot of fun, and now I'm back here, and I feel incredibly guilty about being so mad at this video game that Alex picked after he just did this nice thing. And so I was like, I have to figure this out. And so then I sat down and got it, and I got the
well,
jump.
Just in case, Preston, you're thinking of quitting, I have also purchased your Christmas present too, but you're not getting it till Christmas.
No,
it's
that's
just
fine.
sitting.
No, I've actually gotten pretty good.
Yours wasn't time bound, so it's okay.
I've gotten really good at like running in a circle on one square. Like there's some platform. I'm like, okay, boom, boom. It's kind of just a little swirl every time I want to jump because it gives me enough speed to where I feel okay with that. Other than that, it's like I figured out how to do that jump and forward and thing. Yeah.
But there are places in this game where they put pillars spaced in certain areas where, you know, when you do that running jump, there's a delay. You can't mash that run jump. It's like you run and she lands and takes a few steps
I've gotten the timing
before you're
down
able to do it
pretty
again.
well because I've dropped down a lot of times.
I say there's a couple times they place things where
it's not that
where
fast.
you will stop. Like it's brutal with some of that. So the pausing and then the A and forward or the jump and forward is a game changer because it does do a lot. And remember, you can hold square and slowly walk to the edge of things.
Yeah.
So you can just, Yeah. So yes. My next question to that was if you're following a guide or not. How long, with a guide, like how long are these taking you? These levels?
This one, as far as this part, I have like around 5.5 hours as far as recording time.
Let me look.
They're taking like some of these levels, even with a guide, are taking me like 45 minutes.
Oh, I had hour-long ones. There were hour-long ones or more.
But you're map scraping in a way that I don't think Preston and I are. Like Preston and I are.
I'm still getting an hour.
No, but that's the thing. Like I know what to do, and I'm map scraping, but it's just like I'm falling or I'm dying, or like right, and I'll know what to do. I'll know what to do, so I'll be like, fuck it, I just need to jump this, and I'll do it, and I'll miss, and I'll die, and I'll get frustrated. And be like, fast, do it again, and die again. Like
because you're doing this right, you're dying, you're trying to repeat stuff. How many times did you accidentally hit load again?
Twice.
Yeah, I still did this part too. Twice. I'm like, fuck, I did it. Damn it, god damn it. I know I'm not supposed to do this.
I have not done it again, but there was one time where my finger was,
it's just the worst placement.
Kissing the A button, and I was like, and I actually had a gasp because I had went almost like 30 minutes without saving.
That was so bad.
And I was like, like inhaled and then like moved my thumb away, and I was like, oh thank God, and hit save and then went. But yeah, I'm actually now some of this is, keep in mind that it's paused while I'm doing some other stuff. But I'm at 8.3 hours. So, but I think this last playthrough probably if I cut out all that extra time, it was probably about 2.5 that it took me.
Yeah, I mean that's short for 5 levels. For me, it had to have been 3.5. So like,
but again, I'm rushing. Like I am I am looking for the goal, and then I am out. And honestly, most of that was, genuinely, most of that was me trying to figure out that jump situation. Like that was probably 30 minutes. Of like solid attempts of just jumping the same 5-second thing over and over and over again until I finally figured it out. And then after that, like almost everything else, the game I feel like is pretty clear. The only other thing is a puzzle that I know you'll get to that we'll talk about later that I genuinely was like, I have to be missing something. I don't understand what this game wants me to do, but I'll talk about it when you get there.
So I did the whole first level and accidentally hit load and lost. No, I'm sorry. I died and lost 30 minutes and was like, never again. And then I was much better. I saved a ton. Like I think it counts your saves. I'm up to like 65 saves or something like that now in this game. Yeah, I'm saving a ton. So now
dude, I'm at like 129 saves.
When I accidentally hit load, it's not that bad now, but I did it twice. So okay, interesting. I had some levels that were like 40 minutes to an hour, which is crazy. So in Midas's Palace, you find a room with 5 switches. You have to use them in different combinations to open 4 different doors. Sorry, all you listeners, if you hear my dog eating a cheese cup from Chipotle.
Yeah.
Let me take that. Eventually, you find 3 lead bars that you have to do something with. There's some recesses later in the level that you have to put bars into. Eventually, you find a room with a huge Midas hand. Just staying on theme, everybody. Midas was able to turn things to gold. He could turn trees to gold. He could turn everything to gold. It was great until he figured out everything he touched turned to gold, including his food, including his daughter, including his donkey, and then
it's like that.
It was not fun anymore.
Book with Chocolate Man in it that he touches everything turns to chocolate.
Not as fun.
Or like no, you know what it is? It's the fucking. I just was thinking about this, but I don't know. Preston, when you brought up Chocolate Man, it made me think of candy, and then jump to this Midas thing. Do you guys remember the old Skittles commercial from like late 90s, early 2000s, where the guy would touch things and then everything would turn to Skittles?
Yes.
And everybody, yeah.
Yes.
But it's so funny because it's like this guy is like clearly depressed and is like so bummed out that this keeps happening to him, and everyone's like, "Yo, hey, yeah, touch your phone. I want some Skittles." And the guy's like, and like slowly does it, and then he's like, "Man, that's so cool," and he's like, "It's not cool," and he slams his desk, and the whole desk turns to Skittles. He just gets sad. He's like, "Oh," and touches his chair, and then that goes to Skittles. And it was like, dude, we had better marketing back then. It's just a fact. But
we did.
This Midas thing. So my first thought was, actually, first of all, I got all of those gold bars together, or the lead bars, and then took them to the recesses. And then, now I should say, I was playing this on mute, and I was listening to music while I was playing. Because we can all be honest, there's nothing really happening here.
Well, there's only two. There's no sound, you're gun shooting, or there's the same fight music.
Yeah, which I was good with. I was like, I'm not listening to that. Yeah. So, I couldn't hear, or I wasn't able to piece together at first that they needed to be gold bars. And so I kept trying to have Laura put the lead bars into the thing, and she clearly kept saying like no or something like that, or it's not right or whatever.
Yeah, she says no.
And it kept going in and out, and I go, what the fuck is happening? Like, I was getting so mad. And I come out and I look and I see that the texture on the wall is a different color than the lead bars, and I went, ugh. And so then I was like, I gotta go find this room. So I went, backtracked, found it. Anyway, so my first thought was I run around the hand, and I'm like, nothing.
Yeah,
it's not.
No prompts.
I can't interact. It's nothing happening. So I went, okay. So I just jumped, and then of course Laura's like, oh god! It's like a horror movie, like turning to gold.
Turns into C3.
And I was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, that's clearly not it. And I honestly don't even know. I don't even remember how because I play this like immediately after we do these podcasts. I'm like, let me get this next part out of the way, and I just get it out of the way.
Yep.
And
I'm
so
opposite. I wait till last minute, and I finish it today. So
yeah, and so I wait. I was trying. I don't remember how I did it, but eventually, like, I think I went inside the menu and like tried to use it next to the hand or something, and then that made Laura bend down and like put it on there, and then do this animation where it looked like she grabbed something back up, and then it was like, you have a gold bar now, and then after that it gave me a prompt to do the other two next to the hand. And I was like, man, this is an example of a game that was clearly made before compliance standards were a thing, but this remake was not made before compliance standards were a thing. It is borderline unacceptable for .mu to have not fixed some of these things.
I ran up to the hand, couldn't get a prompt, didn't know what to do. And I paused. Like, I didn't pause the game, I just stopped to look at like a guide. And when I did, I noticed there was a prompt to my left, so I tapped it, and she just like inched, and finally like made her way over to where she could do it. And I was like, oh, that's where I need to be standing. Okay. Like, anything to tell me that would have been amazing.
I found the hand before I got the bars. It's like I found that hand. I'm like, well, just jump around here, find out what happens. I jump on top of the hand. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. Well, probably gonna turn something into gold, so let's go find it.
Yep. So when you get the 4 bars, you take them down to the bottom, you put them in, and you leave. But yeah, so we talked about. Oh, I have a little note that says, because the whole episode is a history lesson here. One more for Midas. We know he turned stuff into gold. Midas was from Turkey. The one I was talking about earlier was the king of ancient Sicily.
Gotcha.
And Damocles. Midas was king of Phrygia. I'm sure I butchered that, so please nobody come at me. Level 8 and 9, we're also going to tackle these together. The Cistern and the Tomb of Teoken. In the Cistern, we have to raise and lower the water levels. Makes sense based on the name of the map to reach the exit. By this point, the puzzles in the game seem to get a bit complicated, right? They're a little more like punishing falling areas in this one. There's a lot more verticality in these puzzles of lowering the water and, of course, the tower. And, like, there are also fun little things where, like, blocks are above your head, so watch where you jump. Otherwise, you're going to fall and have to redo it over. I had a note here. I don't know about you guys, but I'm up in the 60s of saves by this point. But I think it's further than that now.
I'm serious. I ended this at like 129.
I'm not saving
maybe every 5 steps.
I mean, I'm not saving as much, but remember, I'm using a guide.
Sometimes,
so
yes.
I oftentimes know like where enemies are coming from before they happen, so I just save on a few bad jumps, but otherwise, like, I know what's coming.
Anytime I'm platforming, I save on the platforms. Anytime I kill a couple of enemies, I save after that one, as long as I didn't lose too much health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are you up to in the way of health things?
It varies, but like I usually got 3 or 4 of each one.
Yeah, I would say that's about right for me too.
I would say by this level, I've definitely used them in some of the fights, but there are so many hidden ones by this level. I have 21 of the small ones and 24 of the big ones.
You're also going to all the secrets.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's that many. They're just hidden all over the place.
I see them. I'm just not trying to get them.
You're not trying to get up there.
Yeah.
I'm like,
There is a couple times where I'm like, if I don't have to, if that's not the way to go, like if it's clear that that's like a side area, I'm like, yeah, I'm okay.
I was watching the guide to where the guy was trying to do like the jump at the corner and like get up to that really high platform, and I'm like, no, we're not doing that.
It depends. It depends. It depends because if it's a side area that is like, for instance, the one with the crazy jumps, right? Mm-hmm. I went and did that one because I was like, this is because it's a safe.
You'll slide. You won't die. You'll just slide down.
Yeah.
No, well, not only that, but just like from the pillar that I was on, I can easily jump from that pillar to the balcony to then get in there and do the thing, right? Whereas like the one that Preston was talking about that's on that super high pillar, if Laura decides that she doesn't want to grab that ledge and I miss that, then I'm all the way back down. And then it becomes okay, well now I should save before I jump. So then I'm like, okay, cool. If I miss this, I have to reload and try that jump again and keep trying until I nail that jump. And at that point, it's just like, I'm not doing this. I'm not.
No. And sorry, I know we're going to go backward here, but I just want to know, Preston, you said we didn't really talk about the Sword of Damocles' room. The puzzle on that one had 19 hanging swords. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Did you guys trigger any of the sword traps and watch them as they came down?
So they move on you.
Oh, they
go diagonal.
They track sometimes. You. They go in diagonals to follow you.
So I think
it's pretty much
missiles.
Not getting hit more than once, I think it was the achievement I got.
You got an achievement for getting hit one time, right, and no more. There's an achievement for triggering them all and not getting hit, and then getting hit and dying by them goes to a larger achievement of the unique ways to die. I tried twice. Okay. I tried twice to trigger the don't get hit at all, just to see if I could, and that's when I realized that because I was like, oh, okay, I've triggered the first time, and then I died or got hit, so I reloaded. I was like, well, I know where they're gonna fall, and it fell in a different place. I was like, what the hell? So then I started looking up, and they're tracking you, and I'm like, oh, well, this is just cheating. Now, like by that point, F me, I guess. So, in the Tomb of Teoken, you make your way to the tomb itself. Again, random puzzles. This game is puzzle key, puzzle, push block. You make your way to the final showdown with Pierre Dupont. You come down and land in some water. You climb out of the water. You find the tomb, and you're like, oh, I'm going to walk inside of it. On each side of the tomb doors are Atlantean centaurs, and one of them decides to come to life. And boy, is this boss fight
as a horrible flesh monster.
A horrid flesh monster. Mm-hmm. It is terrifying.
It's like a Resident Evil asset that made its way in here.
Now that we're talking about, I meant to do this earlier, I didn't, so I'll do it later. I meant to Google it and see if anybody had like fan art or anything, because sometimes with old games like that, things that you think don't look the way, right? Like maybe it's red armor, like maybe we don't know, like we can't tell. But this thing in its current state looks like an eldritch horror.
It's unscathed.
And I need to know.
Well,
I'll
warn you because I'm looking for you now because I was trying to be helpful here. So I went to the Steam community page.
Okay.
Don't.
Because it is just multiple photos of those sweet, sweet baps. That's it. There is nothing else.
I don't know what
Question
you thought clicking that button.
Here.
Yeah, question. Would you have expected anything
I was
different
gonna say, yeah.
from the Steam
Can I
community?
be honest with you? I genuinely thought like maybe I would. I did for a fraction of a second when I clicked on the community tab. I thought I'll find Alex the photo he's looking for.
No.
And then as soon as I started scrolling, I said, "Well, that was a mistake."
That was on me. I was like,
Yeah.
I googled it instead, and no, it is just a skinned. It's a skinned centaur, is what it is,
Yeah, it's
and
horrifying.
his weapon is like a gun, which is like half of a rib cage. It's pretty disgusting.
Fireballs you shoot.
And it doesn't. All in all, too, it doesn't really make sense for the flow of this game right now either.
Dude,
like
the dinosaurs
you're
make
either
no sense.
you're either implying that like it was casted under there as a real horse and everything decayed away, or the Atlanteans are just eldritch horrors. I'm not sure, but anyway,
And the world saw fit to drown their horrid creations so that mankind would never have to witness that monstrosity.
Yeah. So, Preston, you said both came to life. Not at one time, though, right?
No.
You only had to fight one you had to fight one at a
Well,
time.
you don't have to fight any of them because I walked straight
can
past the
just run.
motherfuckers and went after Pierre because I was. What happened is I walked past one first. I'm like, oh, let's just try to shoot him because he's not walking through the door, and they are pretty good at hitting you from afar, so you can't really do that very well.
that fire hurts.
But that's when I noticed there was two of them there. I'm like, oh shit! And then like the second I tried to die, I'm like, you know what? We're just gonna walk right past them. We're just gonna see what else is there, and that's like the end of the game. So it's fine.
Yeah, so I killed the first one, and then you go and fight Pierre. Pierre's a very straightforward fight. It's just the same thing: dodge, shoot, or just like
Shoot,
stand in front of him, unload, and then just
Shotgun.
heal once.
Yeah.
After you kill Pierre, the second one will come to life if you go back outside. And I killed him. This is a Steam change actually, because in the OG it was required to beat them both. So you'd have to go back and kill the other one in order to move on. But it's changed on Steam to where you can just move on, which is nice.
Yeah, that's a choice. I'm glad they did it because I killed the first one and I just never. As soon as I killed Mr. Dupont, I was like later.
That
like
took
I'm
you a lot of
I'm
ammo,
out
didn't it?
of this level. No, because I had found the Magnum by this point, as in one of the hidden areas here, and so I literally just walked up with the Magnum and I was like, bang, 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 and then his health was just like chunk, 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 chunk. I was like, see ya, and I just walked out.
I have all the weapons. I have the Magnum and shotgun, and even like semi-automatic like Uzi bullets, and I haven't used any of them.
I don't have that.
I have the bullets. I don't have the Uzi
yeah.
though.
I did find the shotgun, even though I missed it in the first area, but I found it in this one. I had the Magnum, and yeah, those did enough damage that I smoked him and was like, later, douchebag.
I did just a little note. I thought the tomb was interesting. It was very like Asian inspired. So not only was it not Greek and not Roman, it was very weird.
Pierre's a weeb. What can you say?
Yep. The fight with Pierre is so straightforward that like you do just straight up kill him and no dialogue, which is actually nice because we didn't talk about this. He shows up in every level, sometimes more than once, and all he does is shoot at you. You take him to half health, he runs away. Like it is a pain in.
And then despawns.
ass.
Like his whole thing is like a dude that might as well come in, like throw a smoke bomb and be like later, and then just like leaves after you shoot him. It's so
very
annoying.
Weird. So after you kill all three things, or maybe you killed two of them, or maybe you just ran past and killed Pierre, you go inside the tomb and you pick up our second piece of Skion, and in our cutscene, and then the cutscene happens, and we read. Laura's reading the inscriptions like, "Here lies Teocan, one of the two just rulers of Atlantis, who even after the curse of the continent had tried to keep rule here in these barren lands. He died without child." Like it matters, and his knowledge is lost for the most part, is what it says. And then we touch the Skion, and all of a sudden we see flashes of emblems, and bam, we are seeing the Lost City It does. I know. And we're seeing the lost city of Atlantis, which actually looks more like El Dorado because it's all gold.
Not only does that, but I thought it was so funny. I was cracking up when she touches this fucking artifact, and you see like the fucking
Rain Man letters,
the neural link like airdrop of photos that was happening in her brain. She's just like, like it's just like all this information. I don't know why, but it cracked me up. It was so funny.
So. When we see Atlantis, we also see 3 shadowy figures, like really tall, one standing behind it, and the shadowy hands it shows them putting the pieces of Skion together, and then we see one person grab it and raise it up, and a red ball of light comes out, and it looks from that like he created an Atlantean lizard person, so like maybe all those crazy podcasters are right. There are lizard people. And then we all of a sudden see him on his knees, like he did something wrong, and another shadowy figure walks over and like rips the medallion off his neck, and like, you idiot, we don't need lizard people. So then he just casts this piece of Skion into this emblazoned fire around Atlantis, and it goes flying through the fire into our atmosphere, turns into a fireball, lands deep in the desert. Laura sees where it's landed in the desert, and then she just like super warps back to her head as she slams back and was like, oh my god, what did I just see? And that ends our playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that is that. We don't need to talk about thoughts. We kind of shared our thoughts last time and not much has changed. We'll talk more about it when we get to the end, but that is the second playthrough. I should have done this before the podcast started. To tell you where we're going to play through next. As you guys know, we're going to play through the next chunk. I just forget.
It's 3 missions. I know that. It's 3 missions.
It is.
What's the location called?
That's what I'm going to tell you. Tomb Raider
Nevada?
Remastered
Sahara?
walkthrough.
Africa?
Las Vegas.
It's not Las Vegas. It's Lost Vegas with a T.
Yeah,
why it's on
Lost
fire.
Vegas, yeah.
It is Egypt, 10, 11, and 12. So the city of Khamun, obelisk of Khamun, and sanctuary of Skion. So yeah, there you go. 3 pieces, hopefully.
Sorry to all you Khamun fans out there. You're ended on Skion.
Be prepared for the first Dynasty Egypt history lessons next week when we come back for this one. So yeah, that is our second playthrough. Honestly, I'm very torn on this. I did one level the other night, or 2 nights, last night maybe. Either way, I did one level. I was like, I'm gonna play a couple levels tonight. I'll finish up tomorrow, and that was the one where I did like the whole level and died and had to start it over again. And I got back and beat the level, and I just turned it off and said, you know what, I'll just power through it tomorrow. And I was like, that's fine. Because by my thought, like, I'll wake up, I'll do XYZ, I'll get it done by 11, and then we're good to go.
Nope.
And boy, was I wrong.
Nope.
Those levels.
I was going to say something. I should have said something.
I'm not torn on this game. I know exactly how I feel about it. And I will... I'll wait, but I assuredly will have the same feeling.
So when we talk about it at the end, the one thing I want us to keep in mind, I want us to keep 2 things in mind, and I want to kind of judge it, not rate it as a game, because the rating can be whatever you rate it, but I want us to judge it in 2 ways, right? The 1996 game,
yep,
and then the quality of the remaster.
Again, that's I agree with that for sure. I just want to remind people, because I think I said this before. 1996 was not like a dire year for video games.
They're great games.
Resident Evil launched in 1996.
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot launched in 1996.
We'll talk about it, but I want to judge it on those 2 fronts, like as the remaster as well, because I think the remaster deserves its own judgment, but it
certainly does, because I have some bones to pick with fucking .mu.
Yeah, so it's a piece. It's a 30-year-old.
It is a piece. So anyway, of something.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Don't forget to check out Preston on Sunday, and then of course we'll be back next week with another couple of episodes. So thanks for hanging out, and with that, Preston, you know what to do.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or to check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast. If watching is more your thing, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/@thetestingroom, or watch us live on twitch.tv/testingroomlive. To leave comments or ask questions, you can follow us on Instagram @testingroompod, leave a comment on YouTube, or send them in to testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.